Well, I wonder what it would be like if Silent Hill was westernized. So that's how it goes down. Well, Silent Hill went downhill when Team Silent wasn't making any of the games that came after The Room.
Oh, hi Mark.
Homecoming was the first to come out on PlayStation 3 and I'm confused. I don't know whether to hate the game or to love the game. I mean, I don't know. Do I hate the game? I mean, what else can they do at this point? I mean, like, what else can they bring to the table that Silent Hill hasn't already done? Or what Team Silent has done? And what can Western developers do to spice things up? You know, bringing it back to psychological horror? Well, they don't. Well, they do, but you just don't care, and you'll find out why. First, I like to start on how Homecoming was made and what the vision was like. As you know or don't know, the last game before Homecoming was Silent Hill 4 The Room, and that game was the black sheep out of the rest of the main Silent Hill game that Team Silent made. It was totally different in terms of gameplay. Well, technically it was Silent Hill Origins, but I don't want to talk about this mess. Naturally, people wanted more Silent Hill. They wanted it to return to its roots or feel similar to Silent Hill 1, 2 or 3. A new project was announced back in 2004 by Masashi Tsubuyama, the chief designer for Silent Hill Homecoming. The rumour back then was that the game was going to be called Shadow of the Past, but that never came to be. Because, well, it's a rumour. 2 years later, the beastly composer Akira Yamaoka revealed more to the public, assuring them that this upcoming Silent Hill game was going to be similar to Silent Hill 2 in terms of psychology, story and gameplay. It would be developed by Collective. However, they merged with Backbone Entertainment back in 2005, and again it became Foundation 9 Entertainment. Then that company merged with Collective with Shiny Entertainment to create Double Helix Games. Man, that must have been a nightmare. Homecoming was released to the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. For the North America, it came out September 30th, 2008, and for Europe in February 27, 2009. When the game was released to the masses, it had to censorship itself in certain countries. This isn't anything new for Silent Hill. Look at the first game, specifically the child monsters in the school. They had like 3 variations in different countries to appease the guidelines, since they can't show you killing children. However, Homecoming is not that bad, but it still had to censor itself. In which country? Well, Australia. Not much of a surprise, but what they had to do was tone down the blood and violence for certain scenes. And the other country was Germany. All they had to do was the same what they did in Australia to get permitted. The reception for this game was mixed. Like me, I'm confused. Some didn't like it, others loved it. The music, graphics and the environment a lot of people didn't have issues with. The issue is the similarity and the lack of originality, and some had issues with story. This is going to be my first time experiencing a Western game fully. I did play Origins on the PSP, but I just got bored and quit the game. But as for Silent Hill Homecoming, I think there was only 2 Silent Hill games that came from the PlayStation 3, not counting the HD collection. And I wanted to see if it holds up to the classic, or just becomes a nightmare. First, I'm going to start with the music. My god, the music for Silent Hill is godlike. If you don't like the soundtrack of the main Silent Hill games, then you have a shit taste, or you're deaf. If so, then you're excused. Now the composer is Akira Yamaoka, who makes a comeback. For me, the soundtrack of Homecoming isn't the best. Like honestly, I felt like some of the tracks felt similar to Silent Hill 2. It isn't bad at all, but there's no uniqueness to these atmospheric music to set the mood. It doesn't complement or set the tone, and it was lacking in character. Listen to Silent Hill 2 music and compare it to this game. Not only did Akira make the soundtrack, he also did the sound effects for Silent Hill Homecoming. Wrote about 17 minutes of music for this game. The sound effects is perfect in Silent Hill, like the metallic industrial grind. However, I didn't like the footsteps of metal floors, as I felt they were obnoxiously loud trying to scare you, and I got annoyed, considering nothing was gonna scare me. The graphics, Homecoming is good, if you can see the game. It's way too dark for no reason. The flashlight barely helped, as I had to rely on the map when I was surrounded by monsters. The visual presentation felt westernized. What I mean is that this game looks and feels like a movie, so much so that it took elements from the movie and applied it to this game, from the monster design to the nightmare visual world aesthetic, and the screen constantly has a ripping effect, so not only is the screen dark, but you also have an effect on top of that too. For this part, I want to talk about the lore of Homecoming and the monsters that they choose. For me, it just felt like fan service, except for the bosses, which I love their symbolism to the design. Now, who in the right mind thought that Homecoming needed monsters from the previous game? Not only that, someone just redesigned. They even have the same movements. Okay, let's start with the one I noticed. For instance, the nurses. Like, why? Firstly, their design is the same as the movie, and the mannerisms is like the movie as well. They were prevalent in Silent Hill 2 because James' psyche of how he felt towards the nurses when he was caring for Mary. And don't bring up Silent Hill nurses, as that'll just be weird unless they're thinking about big booty nurses. But here, my god, the over-sexualization overload. The camera pans to the boobs of these cold corpses that have jiggle physics, and they slightly can or can't see the booty, and potentially the vaginal realm. Like, when I want to kill them, I don't want to get born in the middle of a swing, because that's going to be difficult, as I don't know which one to swing, the bat or, you know. And also you can't think straight, so that's an issue. So yeah, the nurses are fan service and shouldn't be in this game, or be something unique. The dogs make a return, but I don't have any issues with that for me. And the two obviously rip off monsters from Silent Hill 2 and 3, starting with Smog. Again, the similarities with the lion figure, the first enemy you encounter in Silent Hill 2. Now they both kind of look similar, which I don't have an issue with, but the movement is the exact same copy of lion figure. The other is Sayum, and you see what that's a copy of. Like, I don't mind these monsters because they mean something to Alex, but when you have a carbon copy of the same shit, what is the point? You can have the same symbolism, just change the design or the movement, that's it. But it didn't stop there, as it took some elements from the movie as well, like the big giant bugs and Pyramid Head, who's from Silent Hill 2, but in this game he's just a boogeyman, and you don't fight him, he's just there. And honestly, I feel like I'm the only one that feels like Pyramid Head should have stayed in Silent Hill 2. The new monsters are cool, albeit annoying to kill. Example, the Needlers, like they can block your attack head on, and the game gives you a hint of using a gun to shoot them in the head, but they deflect out with the blades. I lost all my shotgun ammo because of it, and found some way later in the church section. The Shizm are also a pain, you can easily be overwhelmed by them in the police station or in the church, and when you attack them they can hit you and move out of the way, so it's harder to hit them back when you're out of the hit animation. And the Lurkers are fodders, very easy to kill and avoid. So far the game hasn't shown any originality, it's the same or a copy of previous Silent Hill games or the movie. It makes you think if the developers even planned this shit at all. Now for me, I love the bosses, so I'm going to talk about the symbolism and the fight itself. The first one you'll encounter in the story is called Sepulchre. The design of the monster isn't intriguing or scary. The fight has two phases, starting with the monster hanging upside down, with multiple sacks of flesh dangling everywhere. In order to hurt the creature you need to destroy these things, which then become phase 2 of the fight. The monster falls down to the ground and you fight it on the ground face to face. I was attacking him for like 3 minutes, but to no avail. Apparently what you need to do is wait for him to slam his hands down, then attack the hand and then the head for an easy kill. The symbolism for this monster is that he was murdered by his father, being buried alive, and might be a manifestation of Mayor Bartlett's guilt, because as soon as he throws the watch belonging to his son, the monster oozes out the ground and kills his father for the murder he committed. The symbolism of the design for Sepulchre is obscure. You see the monster's mouth gagged, which might represent a suffocation when being buried alive, and in the first phase the monster is hanging from a tree, sort of, and that represents admiration for nature. The second boss fight you'll encounter is Scarlet, and this design is creepy as fuck, with its anorexic body structure and doll-like appearance. This boss also has two phases. The first is that you have to peel the white armor-like skin to reveal thin flesh, attacking both the arms and the legs, but that's easier said than done, because the lock-on feature just locks onto the whole body and not the limbs, so you have to position yourself accordingly. Even dodging is useless, like I want to move left but I'll go right. It doesn't make sense. And in the first phase only fire axe can damage her. I tried to use a pipe but it didn't work. The second phase, Scarlet morphs into a spider with her limbs contorted to fit the creature's description. She's a lot faster and nimble. It's very hard trying to attack her. The best way to go about it is to try and dodge and pin her down 3 or 4 times. Out of all the bosses, Scarlet has the most health. Scarlet's symbolism is gruesome, to say the least. She was dismembered alive by her father for reasons of getting story part of the review, and that was horrifying. And in the fight you're almost doing that as well, by removing her skin of the limbs. You see Dr. Finch cutting himself in guilt because of it, and when the boss fight initiates in the cutscene, you see him just profusely oozing out blood, which happened when you gave him Scarlet's favourite doll, which is then thrown in a pool of blood, transforming into, well, Scarlet. Dr. Finch cries for her as she gently picks up her father and bites the shit out of his head, and to that I give a 10 out of 10. The design was influenced by Scarlet's love of dolls, hence her monstrous appearance, and her white skin could be related to how her father sees her skin, as pure porcelain, and she is the only boss to share the name of the person she's based on. The third monster is by far my favourite out of the design. It's creepy and symbolic. I know I said that word a lot, but that's the foundation of Silent Hill, symbolism, unlike any other horror games like Resident Evil and such. So the third boss you encounter is called Asphyxia, and just look at her design, absolutely horny, just look at her butt. Anyway, this fight is simple, attack the booty and then attack the head. The easy way to go about this is to dodge, simple as that. Then you remove her hands, enabling her to breathe, which kills her. And that is sick. Asphyxia symbolism is sad. Her own mother choked the life out of her for stupid reasons, and she's the only boss to not kill the person that was responsible for her death. Her design is inspired by Alice in Wonderland, mainly the caterpillar, as that was a favourite character. You'll know this when you collect photos scattered throughout the game, giving hints of each person likes and stuff like that. But on the other hand, it does look like the human centipede, which was probably inspired by Alice in Wonderland. What is weird is that Asphyxia moves in a seductive manner. Her body is lewd as fuck. Her hand covers her mouth and her other mouth. Some speculate that she was robbed of her maturity, as she died as a child or a teen. You know, when you look at her, no, not her body or how she moves, but her face, she has no eyes, meaning that she was probably sleeping during talking, or she lost consciousness. Not only was she robbed of her life, her breath, she was robbed of her sight. Very sad indeed. And the last boss is called Amnion, and its design is disgusting, taking a form of a spider and a slimy pregnant woman. Really gross. This fight was annoying to say the least. Again, this fight has two phases. The first one is that you constantly get knocked over again and again. It's hard trying to get close to the pregnant lady for an attack. The second phase is much easier as she or he is stagnant. Just stay close to the lady and slice her using a dagger, cause that's the quickest weapon you have. Amnion symbolism has some spoiler in it, so I'll save that for the story. So that's the thing about this game. So far, in terms of everything else, I only like the bosses. Everything is meh. Now as for the gameplay, you take control of your main protagonist, Alex Shepard, who is an ex-soldier, and this game really uses his expertise on how Alex can handle a weapon due to being in the military. While compared to the previous characters, who were your average everyday people, Alex can use quick attack and strong attacks, whereas before you just attack. And with his background, Alex can do combos, mixing up with light and strong attacks. Some weapons are best suited for certain monsters, like the dagger are perfect for the nurses and dogs. Plus, when you're being overwhelmed by sheer amount of them, luckily they stand in a straight line and wait for their turn, or the monsters do nothing at all till you hit them or lock onto them. Like every Silent Hill games I've played, you have your trusty flashlight and radio. The flashlight is for you to see in the dark, if you can see at all, and the radio makes a static noise whenever there's monsters around. You can turn them off sneaking past them, but I'm unfamiliar with this game, so I'm just not going to do that. Just like in the movies, the nurses react to light and move towards it, so if you turn the flashlight off, they wouldn't be aggressive, and you can slide right in. Alex can dodge roll to avoid attacks, which is crucial for survival but can be a bit janky at times. And when you perform the dodge at the right time, you can launch a counter attack, but from my experience it isn't worth it, as you just be exposed to more attacks, as monsters are quick on the feet. All your needlers are the best to counter attack. You can finish monsters with the stun attack by using heavy attacks for a quick kill, which is useful at times. Alex can also use weapons like pistols, shotguns and rifles. In my experience, I didn't find the rifle, and that made me really sad. These weapons can be upgraded if you explore, like in the graveyard, the boarded up grave thing. Inside it is an upgrade for the handgun. Unfortunately, when you use a gun, it doesn't auto lock on, like in Silent Hill 1, 2 and 3. Here you have to use a gun yourself by aiming, you know, modernizing it to make it feel more like Call of Duty. Alex does suffer from recoil, and at times it felt like the shoot button wasn't working, but I was far away from any monsters from taking damage most of the time. And for the first time you can control the camera to your liking. Well, that's it, I got nothing to say about that. The puzzle in this game is tame, unlike previous one like Silent Hill 2 and 3, in where you can choose the difficulty of the puzzles or riddles. Here there isn't any, it's mostly move the pieces that takes most of your time, like it did mine. The riddles help you decipher what to do, like the very last puzzle, in where you have to put the right symbols in the right spot. You can collect photographs and drawings scattered throughout a linear world. Their purpose is to give you more detail about each character you encounter. Example, Scarlet hobbies with the dolls. Another new thing is that you can choose your own dialogue, but it doesn't change the story in any way, so you can come off as sympathetic or aggressive, it doesn't matter.
So I must let it out every day. Fine, you crazy fool, I was only trying to help.
You? You? You can't do anything.
So yeah, the combat, I feel like it's a step in the right direction with some faults here and there, but that can be fixed if the Silent Hill games came after it, utilized it. Now, it's time for the story of Silent Hill Homecoming and the general highlights of my playthrough. Honestly, I don't know why they haven't legit made this game into a proper Silent Hill movie, because it just felt like it was Hollywood rendition and westernized as fuck. Like I said in the gameplay part, your main protagonist is Alex Shepard. At the beginning, he's being dragged in a mental hospital and you see all type of messed up shit. You see a child called Josh drawing on a piece of paper and he chases after him. Good thing there isn't FBI in a nightmare world. You pick up the drawing and the first enemy you encounter is a nurse. I already talked about my gripe about this shit, so moving on. The boy wants his toy, Robbie the rabbit, and after finding it, the ungrateful son of a bitch doesn't want it. And here's a plot twist. It was all a dream. Alex wakes up next to a lorry driver, the protagonist from Origins, and he drops Alex in Shepherd's Glen, not Silent Hill, a new place. You see one of the residents, Judge Holloway, and catch up on some shit. Then Alex head home. You look around for some things, get a flashlight and see a flashback of him and his younger brother. Ah, okay. So this kid is his younger brother. Right. Thank God for that. He finds his mother, who is miserable, like in a catatonic state, sitting all alone in a corner. She tells Alex that her father went to look for Josh, and she's sad that she's alone. Well, at least the bitch could have warned me that there's a monster in the basement. You drain the water out and make your way to the cemetery, and in there you see a person digging graves. You don't talk to him, you just observe. Leaving the cemetery and on your way to the police station, Alex meets with his childhood friend Elle and finds out that more people in Shepherd Glen are missing. Quick side note, all of the NPCs after the cutscene are a bunch of rude dicks, always telling you to piss off. Anyways, wandering around the city some more and into his scrapyard, Alex finds Curtis, a repairman that can fix anything, even revolvers. He gives you some information. The person digging the grave was Mia Bartlett. The clock stops at 2 hours and 6 minutes, and he gives you your first gun, a pistol. Yay. Going back to the cemetery hoping to find the mayor, he's gone. Alex completes the puzzle of the child coffin, then gets a watch scribed with "Forgive me." Then he has a migraine and collapses, waking up in Silent Hill. Josh runs into a hotel in which you soon follow. Once there, you restore the power back and ride an intense elevator. You help a woman who lost a memory of something, and that something is for you to find in this crappy half-star hotel. Along the way, you see Pyramid Head because fan service is a thing. After collecting the postcard, she gives Alex a key. After reading her story, it's quite tragic, but that's for you to find out. Alex sees Josh and jumps across a small hole, and your idiot brother doesn't even help you. Then he falls down the hole into the dining hall. You see Mayor Bartlett and return the broken watch to him that once belonged to his son, and here you fight your first boss, Sepulchre. After that, a hole appears and Alex wakes up in a cell. Deputy Wheeler lets you out after interrogating you about what happened, and you tell him that the mayor is dead, killed by his own guilt. The police station is crawling with monsters. Alex escapes with Elle to the underground sewers, and he learned that Elle's sister was one of the missing person. Leaving the sewers, you both separate, but instead of finding Elle, Alex opted to find Dr. Fitch. What a friend. You find Dr. Fitch covered in blood, and he runs away. Chasing after him, in one of the rooms you find a doll locked away in a box, and opening the box to get the doll, Alex loses consciousness and is teleported into the nightmare world, and in this world you solve puzzles and follow Josh again. This place feels like a maze, but it isn't. It feels narrow. It's a good thing I'm not claustrophobic. Okay, that part was the only part throughout the whole game to scare the shit out of me. Like, I wasn't expecting it. I thought the doll was lying because I walked back instead of turning. And then, all of a sudden, I died. At the end of it, you find Dr. Fitch cutting his sins away. Alex gives him the doll once belonged to his daughter. You always hear him asking for forgiveness from his daughter. For what reason? You'll soon find out after his body excretes blood, and the mannequin monster rises from his blood. The monster gently picks him up and bites his head off, and here you have your second boss, Scarlet. Alex returns to the normal world and gets the Founder's Key. Investigating the main hall, you use the Founder's Key in the middle of the room, revealing a path underneath the building. Inside the cross, you get a special ceremonial dagger that replaces your normal dagger, but this dagger acts like a key, opening up a door that is hidden in this room to yet another maze. Luckily, the branching paths are all dead ends, so you shouldn't get lost. Going up the ladder, you have to go to the cemetery that is crawling with smog, and so going back to the house in the basement, you unlock a secret door that was forbidden for Alex to go into. You get the attic key and go up the stairs to the locked doors. Using the attic key with the flashback, you see Alex's dad giving Josh a family heirloom ring in secret, and so solving this puzzle, you read the letter from his father and learn that he failed to save this town as the Order kidnapped the missing people and killed them or brainwashed them. So Alex grabbed the map to Silent Hill and asked for his mother for answers relating to this issue. However, the Order raided the house and steal the mother. I mean, I saw them in the background waiting, so it wasn't that shocking. But again, the world shifts to nightmare, and you have to find a way out of the house by opening the door that is locked. First is finding a match to put on the thing to open one lock. Second is to find 3 medals and place them on a jacket to lock the second lock. Third is a clock puzzle, and I got a glitch. Or so I thought. My dumbass was supposed to set the timer at 2 hours and 6 minutes, but instead I did it at 2 hours 30 minutes, like 2 and 6. God, that took forever. And the fourth is finding a collection of knives, and solving all the puzzles, you're back to the normal world and off to Silent Hill alongside with Elle and Wheeler. Here, Wheeler talks about Silent Hill, how one cop went in and was never heard of again. The cop name was Sybil from the first Silent Hill game. Then suddenly Elle and Wheeler gets kidnapped by the Order, and Alex is washed ashore in Silent Hill. Both of Alex's friends are in a prison, but the gate is electrified, so you need to find the power source and when you do, turn off the generator. And in this section you find the Order people for the first time. Inside the prison you find Wheeler in one of the cells in B block. The Order are keeping L in solitary confinement. Now that Wheeler has control of the prison system opening doors, he guides Alex to L. However, you find the mother instead, bound to a cross, or what appears to be one. Now you have the choice to either leave her to suffer or kill her. Since it's my first playthrough, I killed her, and her body was ripped open by the gears and the world turns to a nightmare. I figured out a puzzle that took quite a while. If you choose wrong, then the needle will come for you. I just quit and restarted. I can't be arsed with the bullshit, but I did it. The mechanism rises and Alex falls down a hole where Wheeler is waiting. Alex is grieving for his mother since he couldn't save her. He finds Judge Holloway bound to a chair. He gave her the necklace that belonged to Nora, her daughter. As soon as that happened, Wheeler is dragged into a vaginal wall and out appears a human centipede, Asphyxia. She is by far the best designed monster that goes well with the symbolism. Alex sees Josh after the fight and goes after him in a church. Inside the church, I use a dagger to open what appears to be a mechanism that holds 5 pieces of shit, so that means I gotta find them all. You even get to play a role as a father, hearing someone else's sin, although you could say that person behind the drapes might have been Alex's father, but who knows. I find all the pieces along the way and have to put them in the right order. Kneeling man is penance, sword is vengeance, tree is desire, candle is sorrow, and chalice is sacrifice. The organ opens to what you see Alex's father incapacitated, a sorrow reunion. His father claims that Alex was instituted to a mental hospital due to a certain incident. Alex on the other hand claims he was in a normal hospital because of the wound he got from the battle, but that ends abruptly when Pyramid Head slices him in half. I'm just glad I don't get to fight him, although it does feel like he was a waste of character. Going through your father's remains, Alex dons the Order outfit to protect him from fumes and stuff. And in the elevator you see Curtis, and he pretty much sees through your disguise and knocks Alex out cold, dragging him to Judge Holloway, now calling herself Margaret, the so-called leader of the Order. You learn that she killed her daughter to please the Order and God. Her daughter was Nora, aka Asphyxia, and every 50 years the founding members must sacrifice someone, like how Dr. Finch dismembered her daughter Scarlet alive and Mayor Bartler burying his son alive. Alex's father failed to follow suit and their pact with God was broken. Margie preaches nonsense and orders Curtis to kill Elle, and Alex kills Margaret by drilling her face, a win-win for me. Curtis finds Elle and teases her with a circular saw. Now if you're quick you can save her, or if you're too slow she dies. Luckily I saved her and I killed Curtis, who is the worst variation of chainsaw dudes. With the help of Elle opening the gates, you find Wheeler stabbed multiple times. Now you can give him a medkit or let him die. I gave him the medkit. Alex tells Elle to take Wheeler and leave the place, as he still need to find Josh alone. I found a strange mechanism on the floor. If you line up the right pattern, it will unlock another puzzle, and the hints are in the wall that you can unlock with the dagger. And the puzzle for the door, I don't know, I just took a guess at it open. In the room are altars of each family branch that are sacrificed. You even see the names. Searching at the shepherd altar, Alex have a flashback of him and Josh on the boat. Josh teases him about the ring that the father gave him in secret. Curious about it, he tries to snag the ring from Josh, but he gets whiplash, hit his head on a boat and falls off, drowning in the lake. So Josh was dead all along and Alex killed him. The world shifted nightmare for your encounter with the pregnant spider, Amnion. I didn't want to talk about the symbolism since it was spoiler, so I'll talk about it now. The design of the monster is a spider due to Josh loving insects and spiders. As far for the pregnant female, there's so many possibilities. As for me, I think that Josh is a child in the family, so maybe that's why he's inside the belly of the beast, and the creature's wet, maybe symbolizing drowning, and the face has a tube in his mouth which leads to the vagina. I don't know. The main thing is that it might be Alex's guilt of not wanting to accept what he did. Once the fight is over, Alex slices the belly open, revealing Josh as he slides out of it dead. Then Alex gives him a flashlight to give him comfort as he did before and leaves. The ending I got is Alex and Elle reunite happily ever after, and I don't know if that's a good ending or a bad ending, and where the hell is Wheeler? In total there are 5 endings depending on what you choose, like either saving Elle or not, killing the mother or not, stuff like that. And that is the story of Silent Hill Homecoming. And that's my review of Silent Hill Homecoming for the PlayStation 3. The box art looks sick by the way. And now, I still don't know whether I love or hate it though. The game structure looks the same as the Silent Hill movie and Silent Hill 2, and that isn't anything new. Now the gameplay is fun, mainly the combat. Unlike previous Silent Hill trilogy where you press one button for an attack, here you can mix up and do combos, so it didn't feel boring. I love the bosses in this game. Their design and symbolism in this game are fantastic. The music felt random at times and it didn't set the tone. Now Yamaoka is like my favourite composer, it's just that I didn't feel anything, and the concept of Silent Hill in this game is stale. For like my interpretation of Silent Hill is that you experience the horrors of tortured souls individuals, Like in the first Silent Hill game, you go through Alyssa's tortured mind. You see how she feels or how she views certain people, like the children in school or the nurses, and Lisa. Ugh, poor Lisa. Silent Hill 2, you experience James' guilt and his frustration of his current situation. The monsters in that game aren't there to scare you. Well, they are, but they're just like your own demons. Silent Hill 3, I guess you're in the cult's nightmare, or Cheryl/Alyssa's nightmare. I'm not sure about that one. And Silent Hill 4, The Room, well, you're stuck in the room.
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not.
Now, as for the PlayStation 3 game, there was one more game that came after this, which was Silent Hill Downpour, and I haven't played that game yet. So I'll just have to wait and see which game was the ultimate westernization of Silent Hill game, and which one was better. Well, I've been AnimersiveXP. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to comment, like, share, subscribe, and you'll see me in the next video, hopefully. Bye bye. Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. Why is this sword so freaking heavy? Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. Oh shit. There's someone there. Hello? Oh, there you are. Hello, I see you. But you don't think you can see me though. It doesn't matter. I'm just a bootleg pyramid man. Whoops, better move the sword out the way. Very dangerous. Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. Oh god.